Do do. Yeah. I know I haven't been out a few weeks, but my beard is getting quite luscious. Yeah, I think I might cut it off today. It's going so. Let's pause this. This is going to be kind of a weird session today. I still don't have anyone to do the verbal part of things, and I don't have a moderator, and we're not watching Bashar today because, yeah. And if you guys want to chat, feel free to chat. I can see the. I'm gonna actually readjust this so I can actually see the thing. So I can see the stream. I am going to do my best to go back and forth. Last time you guys were on stream with me, this was quite difficult to actually do that part of things. So I have decided I'm going to start streaming some games also because I want to watch stuff and we'll do channeling stuff. But I want to actually, I'm going to play Baldur's Gate and I want to share that with you guys. So we'll play a character and yada yada yada. But today we are going to Mr. Ethium. He wants me to go into channeling mode and communicate with you guys what a story. I don't know what it is. I just know he wants to tell a story to you guys. And I'm going to wait for people to start showing up. And we can get started. This whole thing is going to require very much having more than just one or two people around. And the whole idea for today's session is I'm going to try to go back and forth. Make sure you put your questions in the video into the chat, as well as make sure that you guys, if you have questions in the future and you want me to do a video about it, feel free to put a question on any of the videos. I will collect them and I will just do a whole video of those questions. So yeah, but that's pretty much the plan for today. I will hold on a second. I I was just answering back a message to someone who had a question. I'm just waiting for at least one or two viewers to pop in, and I am going to probably start. So everyone who's watching this, I'm going to start streaming Baldur's Gate because that looks like a really fun game, and yeah, I don't know what I've. So for those of you that have been watching these streams and connecting to me while I do it, one thing I will say, because I just, for the purpose of being transparent to everyone who watches this, when you go through the process of becoming a clear channel, for anyone who is interested in doing that themselves, is that you go through a whole process of learning to connect to yourself. And I'm going to do this so I can actually hear what I'm saying a little more easily and hear what it sounds like to you guys. You kind of go through a process of being able to like connect to who and what you are, and you also go through a process of saying, hey, I am this or that, and you don't completely understand everything as it goes. The other thing is it brings all those things to the surface that you have been holding on to. And what I have found from doing it is I had some stuff I needed to work through. I needed to take a few weeks away from actually streaming like this. And it's not gonna lie, it's been really challenging. I've had things come to the surface that I would have never thought would be as profound as they have been. I've been having to do my own. I've been having to do work I thought I had finished with, like internal work, because that's like the biggest thing. They don't tell you when you start into channeling or just about anything else that it's always going to bring to the surface the things inside of you that you have not quite dealt with and you've never quite looked at in this light. The process of channeling itself brings everything to the surface that you don't want to look at. It also brings to the surface those biases and beliefs you have about yourself and the people around you and your family and the way you work, the way you reach out to people. And I am, like I said, I am just kind of, I'm allowing people to, whoever wants to start watching and talking, to file in. I will go back and forth throughout the stream. Anyone who wants to drop in and chat, feel free. This stream is going to be up on YouTube no matter what. So even without people actually filing into the chat, and I know there will be more, I'm going to try to go back and forth. I'm going to try to do very little, because what I found from channeling and trying to go back and forth a ton, it's just so disorienting. And so I talked to another person, if you guys know who Kimberly Ray Smith, she used to do channeling Eric a lot. I do sessions with her occasionally just because sometimes I need that bouncing back and forth. What she said is when you're channeling in that way, that it's just really disorienting, and it's like you're connecting to your physical form and going back and forth, and it's just completely disorienting. She's a little more, she's obviously more successful at connecting that way like I am. She also said that it's also perfectly normal to feel awkward about, and because I want to be able to deliver to you guys the information that you desire, and I don't want to feel like I'm just pulling something in my ass. So that's kind of why I've pulled back on the channeling stuff, if you guys understand where it's coming from, or where I'm coming from. I didn't mean to leave you guys hanging, but that's just kind of where I'm at. Is I also haven't had someone to sit there and do the moderator part of things for me, so I've been kind of like, this is a little too hard to do, but just by myself. And if you guys would, if someone would like to, I think the next one of these I'm going to do is going to be more kind of like a combination thing from Zoom and and then I'm going to stream it onto YouTube, and I got to figure out how that works. But if you guys, if someone would like to be a moderator for me, if I don't I'll put out a thing on stream on my YouTube page that's asking for someone to yeah, no, so, but that's realistically why I've been pulling back. Is I didn't want to give you guys in channeling what I've been doing the last couple months. It brought up in stuff inside of me that I hadn't dealt with, that I want to make sure I give you guys the most clear, honest, open information that I possibly can. And it brought up stuff inside of me that I hadn't dealt with, is the honest to God answer why I haven't been doing it. So I needed to kind of work through things. Plus I've been working a lot the last, I'd say, last 3 or 4 weeks. So I haven't had really the time to sit there and actually channel and do videos like I was there for a bit, because I wasn't working, so I had time to just sit there and channel and just do streaming stuff like this. So so today what Ethium has told me is he wants to tell you guys a story. I don't know what the story is. He hasn't told me, but he just said he would like to tell you guys a story. If you have a question, I'm going to try to go back and forth a little bit. I don't want to actually, I don't want to hang out in going back and forth too much, because the actual, it's just completely disorienting on my part of things, and I can't channel for very long when I'm doing that. So, so let's begin. And also feel free to put your questions in the chat box. And I will do my best to bob back and forth, but like I'm going to try to read the messages and then just let him kind of channel through me. So here we go. Give me a second. Hello, all of you today. We have come to tell you the story of your future, of a version of your future, of a version that you could potentially go down. The question is, the answers that you seek will always be internal. But the story we tell today is that of one who is there to grow, one that has moved through the idea of pain, has learned to use the idea of loss, who has learned to use the idea of limitation in a positive way. The growth and the feeling that you maintain as a person is there in service to all. For today, we start with the connection and the timing long after humanity has connected to the stars, to the idea of the hybrid children that have come to live among you. There once was a child, or there will be a child. He grew up in what was once a major city amongst your people. What once was the ideal form of life for your people. He was one of the few remaining residents of this city, him and his family. His mother looked after him, as they had lived in this city for generations. At the time of the landing, at the time of the hybrid children, after the governments had disclosed the idea of connection to the stars and what the actual meaning of being human was. It also was a time past the point of war, of destruction. This was the time of rebuilding, the time of connection to you and all the beings that are out in the world. This boy, having never known anything outside of this city where his family had lived, one day decided to move to grow when his mother told him, "We must move beyond this city. There's no longer life here. There is no longer the way of thriving in this civilization, in this remnant of the city that we have lived in for generations." In the moment of hearing this, he was struck by the idea of fear, the connection to him and the people that he had always known. He had seen many of the children that he had grown up with in this deserted city disappear out of his life one after another. He was allowed only a moment to cry, knowing that he would never see this home again. For the destruction and removal of a city that no longer was a living organism. Many of the inhabitants of this city, of this civilization, had grown and moved on to other worlds, other parts of your world, other ways of living that are more harmonious with nature. They needed to go through the idea of removal so that these areas could grow and bring in new life and bring back and balance the nature that had been destroyed once to clear the space for these large cities. The idea of pain that had come along with the idea of living in a way that is disconnected from nature. He had heard stories of many places that humans had lived, had been reclaimed by nature. And in those places where the reclaiming had happened, many of the people and the spaces returned back to nature. The people had reconnected to their roots. The pain and disconnection that they felt from not being connected to nature returned. This boy, having only ever known this way of existing, where there were less people than he previously knew, were there to connect to him. He felt like he had lost everything. As his family left the place of his birth, the place where he had grown as a child, he saw a glimmer of hope. He saw that many people had sprawled out into many different locations, and they were living in harmony with what it meant to be human. They returned to more of a natural space, and he'd seen on the horizon those things that had only existed in mere glimmers inside of this city, inside of the ruins of a almost dead civilization. He saw animals creep in and go down the roads that were once previously contained by the idea of massive amounts of cars, vehicles that roared through the landscape. He now as he approached his new home, allowed himself to connect to the land. His dreams turned back and were brought forward more easily, and he was able to connect to the natural state beyond what he had just grown into. His environment started replicating the internal state that he, as a being, now reflected into his reality. This is the story we have to share for you. Many of you who fear the idea of loss merely have the idea that you will be losing everything that you are, everything that you will be. This is not true. You will have gained more by returning to a natural state and being a reflection of nature, because you are part of nature. It does not require you to be disconnected. Your world will reflect that return to nature, the way you live, the way you experience life, in a more holistic way when you reflect that energy back out into the world. This is our story for you today. Cool. I'm going to read questions, and and yes, I'm very much going to do questions. Hi, love to love. How you doing? He just wanted to tell that message read that message first. As I've said many times, I don't know how long I'm going to do this, but I'm going to try to change up how I do this so it's more people straight talking to me, or talking to him. So what questions do you guys have for today? Like, keep this minimal. I don't think this is going to be a super long stream, just because I don't have someone there to sit there and moderate, which makes my life 10 times easier actually doing it. So feel free to ask your questions. And I'm going to see what my dad said, because I see that he has a message for me. Yeah, no, so something you guys may not know, like, one thing that channeling has done for me, it's unlocked different portions of my personality, of things that were kind of just there but blocked by beliefs. And I wanted to share this because it was really cool. I'm energetically working on energetically and physically, and I do these very cool nerve-based techniques for when I'm actually working. I'm able to I've been working on a way of helping people with diabetes, and it's been really challenging, and it's fun work, and it's also kind of hard. The last few weeks I've done this, I've been actually able to make things disappear on people, and I'm kind of in the testing phase of having this way of treating diabetes for people who have that. So give me 1 second. So like I said, if you guys have questions, feel free to ask them. I'll try to bob in and out, like try to put enough up in the actual question so he can answer a few at a time. I will say this much: channeling now compared to like 2 months ago is much easier. It's less of like this jump in between states. Oh, that's really cool. So you actually get to visit with them. Nice. I'm guessing your kids specifically. And also, love to love. If you feel free to actually find me on Facebook, Kenneth Fuller. I don't know where you're at, but if you also put your name in the message or chat, I can copy that and I'll find you on Facebook, and I would love to do like a private session so we could just kind of talk that way. So let's see. And I will say, okay. I will say, if you, I'm before I even go into like go back in for him for like a second, here in a second. if you have interactions with hybrid children like that, more than likely they're yours, and they're just visiting you as, and you have probably had physical interaction with them. So just kind of keep that in mind. Is like more than likely the hybrid children you're talking to are your hybrid children, the ones that you're singing to. So, yeah, anyone who wants to, feel free to put your question in the chat. I don't want to do too much going back and forth because I can tell you that it's extremely disorienting to do it. And on any of the videos that I put up, feel free to actually write questions there, and I'll collect them, and I'll probably just do a video where I have someone actually. I will do a video where it's just people's questions that they actually, where people actually, he answers the questions for you guys. So I don't have interactions. Okay. So hold on. Give me a second. We will restate what we have said in previous transmissions, previous connections, that many of you that connect to this information, this connection, this way of thinking, have had physical interactions with beings from other worlds, whether it's Greys or Arcturians or the Osts or the Blue Avians. The level of your understanding and ability to recognize and to connect more freely is that which shows you where you are energetically in your ability to perceive the interactions you're having on other levels, as well as physical interactions that you have forgotten. In our civilization, amongst the Sasani people, we have a species that we have interacted with many times, and we have somewhat adapted their ability to make people forget. In the Thuk, they have the idea of, as long as you're connected to them visually, you will remember everything about the conversation. The moment you break eye contact with them, you will forget or even know that they even remotely exist. They exist on a planet 60 light years from your planet, around a red dwarf. A red giant that has dimmed and is cool. We have adapted this ability into our collective as a way of having a barometer for those that we are having contact with, to see where they are vibrationally, to understand their connection, and also to understand where they are energetically on a vibrational state, to understand and know that they are right on path to be able to connect to other beings. The fact that you, as a being, are having interactions on other levels that you can remember should allow you to know the fact that you have a particularly high vibration, because you are able to perceive and remember the interactions that you are having. Many, as the Bashar has said, and we have said, and many others that have connected to you, the first interactions that many of you will have will be on the astral level, the dream level, or telepathic communication that you are having with higher level beings at that time. Cool. Yeah. I sing the clouds and by the way, this is way easier today. Like, I'm not having as hard time jumping back. Hold on, let me drop back in. Like I said, anyone who's watching this, feel free to put questions in the box. I gotta. This is gonna be a little bit of a back and forth day, so feel free to put your questions in the box. Yeah, give me a sec. Okay. As we read the connection to the vibrational state, we read 6 in particularly strong connections to you, genetically speaking. And 7 more that are derivative, that have some connection to you energetically, that are not necessarily biological children, but as we read it, 6. Okay. Let's see. How can I be free of a messed up horoscope astrology chart? Understand that the idea of astrology is that of which is reflective of where you are energetically. It does not require you to say that you are this and you will only ever experience these things. Energetically, many times, many of you on Earth choose to set up your experience in this way, especially for those that are going through the process of connection, of contact, such as you are doing right now. We are putting out the idea of higher mind. Know that the connections that you are feeling are not permanent. They are a choice. They are a energetic space for you to grow. On a higher level, the more advanced souls, the ones that have progressed to the point that many of you have, being the master's limitation that you are, chose very hard contracts in order to move forward and rapidly evolve you as a soul from a higher perspective, because you knew that would work for you. The limitations that you set on yourself, the communications with those around you, they are there to serve you. They are not there to hinder you in the way that you think. If you wish to free yourself from those experiences, your horoscope is merely a reflection of who and where you are energetically at any time. It can change. You will be in one reality where it reflects back to you the idea of a messed up, horrible experience. And in another reality, it will reflect to you the peaceful state that you will have obtained by going through the experience of the challenges in your life, whether it is there as a horrible, nasty experience. Remember that as these challenges roll through your life and show up time and time again, they are there to help you grow. And if you look back through your life, those challenges that you hated at those moments were merely the accelerant. For when you ask for a time, a place where you, as a being, can go through really challenging situations, they are merely there to accelerate you as a being in your experience of being human. When you ask for those tough challenges, they are merely there as a accelerant, as a way to get you moving, because you knew as a higher level being that you would have not gotten moving any other way had you not put those challenges in your life. So, the way to free yourself from those lessons that you have set in place for yourself is to view them with gratitude, view them with the idea of connection to your higher self, because it knew, and it is you, by the way, that you could actually handle those situations that you have put forward at any time. It's not that you ever become free of them. It's the way you look at them that changes your experience of those challenges in your life. That's it. Cool. This is actually easier this time. Hold on. So this is gonna be a lot of back and forth. And I am looking at your guys's questions, and I'm gonna, because I know that the fan's on the background, I'm gonna turn that off real quick. So hold on one second. Okay. Back to having these on. Okay. Let's see. How will it happen when never see another train? Okay, I'm just gonna go through the questions, and I will pick up the ones that I see that are more. Can he explain what the 7 types of connection have been physically taken, contracted? 7. I'm gonna go with what will happen with the train thing. Hold on a sec. Yes, I'm doing very well. Okay. Ooh, that would be a fun one. So I'm kind of taking stock of these questions. I'm gonna just stick with it right now. Like, this is. I'm assuming you're asking how many hybrid children you have. Okay. I'm gonna feel free to still keep putting questions in the chat. I'm gonna dip in. Give me a second. Also, you guys, I'm just because I really do I want to play it and I want to stream some more. I'm going to be playing the game Baldur's Gate sorry about that. Along with everything. So kept my eyes closed. I told myself it's okay. When I was put back, I had this cool liquid feeling through my brain. It was, yeah. Oh yeah. No, it's cool. Your body realistically is just kind of a shell and exists inside of your consciousness. And the more I've done the channeling aspect of thing, because I had precursor experiences like that where I would always get pulled in my body and do all these crazy things, and then I get put back into it, and then I was just like, I want a more active experience. And so I didn't put this part out about the session that I did last week, because I was asking him through a friend of mine, how do I smooth out the connection so it's much more easy? And I can tell you today from doing the session with Ken last week that the more I relax into the experience, the more I will grow. And also I can tell you from actually doing what she said, which is just to relax and be more into the connection, it's actually smoothed it out this week. So I'm actually not having such a tough time going back and forth. So okay, let's go. I'm gonna pick 3 of the questions. I will go with hybrid children, the train, and let's go with the inhabitants, the star, and goal. Okay. This is kind of a little less of a like all over the place stream, and we're more of a. This is going to be just a different kind of stream today. So, give me a second. Let us address the idea of what it will be like with the idea of when the trains separate. You're already on a separate train from people in a different reality. You will see some people disappear out of your life because they are no longer a vibrational match, whether it's family, friends, people you've known for many years, people that have been in your life for a myriad of reasons. People that are no longer match that energetic level that you are for now and for some time moving forward. Even after open contact happens, you will still see those people in your life. They will be more or less kind of like ghosts at a certain point. You can see them, you can experience them, you can feel them. But eventually, those people that do not match you vibrationally, frequency-wise, as many of you can attest to, as you have moved energetically upline into your future, our past, you have started to see many of the people in your life that you once had completely close existences with, you had many experiences with. They've just moved out of themselves out of your life with not so much of a word. You may miss them, but you will always have versions of those people in your life. You will always just merely have the people that represent connectively, energetically, that match you vibrationally. The people that need to be there will. We understand that many of you mourn the loss of many of the people that have disappeared out of your life. The train, as you say, is merely just a metaphor for that vibrational splitting. As you do continue on this path, this will happen in an accelerated rate in the years moving forward. They are not gone, just merely in a different reality that does no longer a vibrational match for who you are at this time. And as for your hybrid children, as we read it right now, 9. But no, when we say hybrid children, they are only a percentage of your genetics. They are not fully yours. It is a high enough percentage that we could say they are connected to you. They are energetically connected to you, and more like at the level of not form, but of being more of an astral beings that they are. They play with you in your dreams to have those connections with you and to be able to acclimatize. Many of the humans have expressed the idea that they are frightened by being taken onto ships. So they have shifted more into this way of actually experiencing and interacting with you to be able to still accumulate the experience of what it's like to be human and be on Earth, but not in such an intrusive way that it interrupts your life as it did in the past. As far as the star that you are referring to, the inhabitants of that particular system have a variety of shapes and sizes. On the fourth planet in that system, they are somewhat humanoid. They have 2 arms, 2 legs, but they exist in more of a shorter perspective. They have more of the characteristics of what you stereotypically see as alien, of someone who lives in fourth density that is more or less, well, less of a physical aspect. So their bodies have changed in that way. Many of you, when you see depictions of aliens, of extraterrestrials, of beings that live among the stars, they look a particular way because they no longer require the physical form like they have. So the physical mass reduces and becomes more slender and larger eyes to absorb more light, but they also absorb more of the realities that they exist in and the experience of what it means to be them from a different perspective. Beauty in each civilization is slightly different, but most of what you as a culture, as a species, has seen when you see depictions of aliens where they have the large eyes and the large heads, and they might have 3 fingers, 5 fingers, tentacles, or any other things. That's just indicative of the environment that they evolved into, that particular form. You, as humans, had the intrusion from the Anunnaki. You, in many ways, look like them. You are not nearly the size that they were. The original humans were closer to the size that they were, but they were more or less half the size of the Anu at that time. The beings that you refer to as the tall whites is what the Anunnaki, have transformed into. We refer to them as the hyper sapiens, the beings that no longer need or will destroy themselves. They have ascended beyond where they were when they originally created humans in the first place. They have reached more or less a homeostasis in their technology and their way of being. For beings that have lived for millions of years as a civilization, they have reached more or less a cohesive spot where they are more or less homogenous in the way they look at this point. But many of them, when they are young, when they come to Earth, they actually look very similar to you. There are a few defining features that look different, but you would need to know what to look for. All right, that was cool. Okay. Yeah, our goal was the... let's see, because I'm going to try to go back and forth, and I'm just going to let him say things to me so I don't necessarily have to switch back and forth. Because many say it is really evil, but I use the talisman self-defense. So this is the other thing. A lot of times when people read them as evil, it's bringing up to the surface the things they have not dealt with. So that feeling, that fight or flight response that comes along with dealing with higher level beings is actually more why they particularly describe it as evil. So it's not necessarily evil in the sense that most people are talking about. And the other thing you gotta consider, anytime someone's dealing with what they perceive as evil, they're not actually really truly evil. They may be, from a vibrational state, they actually may be bringing up that aspect in themselves that they have not quite dealt with. So they're actually having to trying to think the best way to put it. Hey, listen to the siren in the background. I'll go back in. Like I said, this is me kind of going back and forth, and the sirens are calling. It's that state of fear that why people call it the demon star or demon star. Ethan is much better explaining this stuff than I am. So, give me a second. The demon star. Many of you who have dealt with karmic beings, who refer to them as Lucifer, the devil, are merely there to reflect back to you the negative aspects of who you are that you have not dealt with. That you, as a being, as many of them, are reflecting back to themselves the idea of disconnection, of hatred, of the negative vibrations in that low space. The beings in the past in your civilization that have been demonized in their experience, in the way they were explained, I would remind you throughout history, many of the survivors of the civilization that you refer to as the Anunnaki, in your history were referred to as the Nephilim, the fallen angels, but they were very much your ancestors. They were not demons in any way, shape, or form. They were not there to destroy you. They were merely the survivors of the predecessing civilization of that which you know. They are the energy that connects to the idea of Tartaria, of the previous civilizations that you, as beings, have been part of, have had incarnations in those societies as those people that are much larger and much scarier to the people that do not understand it. Because many times humans fear that which they do not understand and wish to not understand it from a purely intelligence-based perspective. It is bringing up inside of you energetically the idea of the reptilian brain, that which helps you with survival. So when you are connecting to that level of things, you are connecting to your root chakra. You are connecting to the idea of fear, that which blocks you, the thing that stops you from experiencing the things that might be outside of that which is your normal experience that you think you are. Many of you are beyond purely that state of survival. You just haven't recognized it yet. You are catching up to the idea in reality's terms, in vibrational terms, that you are more. You have already connected on many realities to the idea of open contact. You are merely catching up to the idea of that vibrationally speaking. You do not require the idea of the fear and doubt. As long as you know that you possess that vibrationally in your field and be an example for those that wish to also experience that reality in that future with that level of certainty, you are the example for those around you that need to have an example of what it is to have contact, open contact with beings in a more positive way. All right. All right, let's keep this going. I hope that answered your question. I have been married twice, and I'm just keep in mind, keep the questions coming. I just I have to kind of go back and forth, and I'm reading a bunch of. It's not necessarily me; it's Ethium that's actually answering the questions. He's like higher. Yeah. Anytime you ask for dates, the whole thing changes anyways. That's why they don't typically give us predictions of the future. It's like the story that was told at the beginning of the stream. That was actually more there to show a vibrational state of what it would be, what it is like, and what it will be like for us to shift back from the physical, like where we are now energetically and technologically, to more of a more natural way of being, is the way he kind of described it to me while I was while the story was being told to you guys. So, but just kind of put that into your energetic field. Okay, let's see. People ask me if I have no answers. I just say I think the universe must have planned for me. Yeah, I would agree with that. But that's also why we're here. And by the way, no one is alone. Like, we're never truly alone in our experience. That's why I do these streams, to actually show you guys that we are a community. We may be far apart, geographically speaking, but energetically, we are all right here on YouTube, talking to each other and answering questions and having fun together. So, let me see. Hold on a second. Let me. Um, Energetically, when you know at the end of your soul contracts, your connection at that time, because you can form new ones throughout your life. If you know that you have natural seasons and ebbs and flows to who you are and what you are and what your experience is, you know that you don't necessarily always need to have a partner. It's understanding that you are at a different stage. That is not necessarily always a bad thing to be by yourself, because by being by yourself, it allows you to have time to be in that introspective state, to ask yourself the questions that you could not otherwise. You do not necessarily need to be with a partner, but if you feel moved in that way, it's could be telling you there's a time to learn a new lesson. It does not necessarily mean it's bad that you're willing to spend time with yourself. It's willing to just have the experience of being able to get to know who you are energetically, emotionally, spiritually on a different level. It is not necessarily a bad thing to be able to say, hey, this is who I am and this is what I'm about. I would like to find someone more easily able to connect to me energetically. So you do not need to necessarily shift or have a partner at some times or in general. It's whatever's relevant for you to go through those experiences. The only thing that's telling you it's wrong to have a particular experience or to live in a certain way is more in the sense that you are honoring where you are right now. And in the next moment, you could have an experience energetically that comes up and tells you, okay, it's time to have a partner. No more complex than that. It's honoring that aspect of yourself and not judging who you are as a person or judging what your experience is as a being in creation, as we all are. There is no shame or judgment in any experience. It's only that which you put onto yourself that will determine what your experience and how far you can go in your current state of being energetically. You do not ever, and I say this ever, truly have to do anything unless it resonates and it's relevant for who you are as a person and a being in creation and your experience and your expansion as a soul on many different levels. Remember that your children, your family, are all there by choice. Your children chose you as a parent. You chose them as children. So you as a family are there by agreement. You may not remember these experiences, but you do have these experiences. This is getting easier, by the way. Okay, let's see. I hope that answers your question, Love to Love. Is it contract that Earth is the only planet that energy and matter can exist as living experience? By this somewhere. No, it's not the only place in the galaxy. We're just one school. I know that one. You were experiencing your crown chakra. That's what that was. Okay. Correct. The Earth is it correct that the Earth is the only planet that energy and matter can exist as a living experience? I've heard this somewhere, and and that time doesn't exist. Time doesn't exist. It's an experience within creation. It is not actually it's we. Give me a second. I'm gonna mirror. I'm going to body. Okay, let's do for these two for the next two questions. Keep in mind, I'm just kind of going back and forth with all this stuff, so you guys. And I'm glad that helped you out. Okay, so let's go with those two questions for the next ones. Your crown chakra is at the top of your head. Well, it's about a foot off your head, actually. There is an eighth one that more connects you to the idea of interstellar. What you were feeling in that moment was information, a download in that moment into your experience, a question you may have asked that would open in what you perceive as telepathic communication. Because many times that, much in the way that this communication is happening more telepathically for the channel, he is not actually hearing anything that we're saying. All he is doing is interpreting and being a good receiver for the information that's being received down into his body. He has surrendered in such a way that we can communicate through him into your experience and to be able to give you the information that we are delivering to you. You are experiencing the idea of a telepathic download through your crown chakra from your higher mind into your physical mind, and you were just at the level where you could actually perceive the communication that is happening all the time around you in your experience constantly. The experience of being human in the past was more that of disconnection away from the idea of purely being apart from nature. You have energetically, vibrationally reached a point where you are at a level where you can perceive the communication that is already happening in your experience at all times. All right. Hold on one second. Okay. Back into it. Okay. So, on Essassani, we are the place of living light. The Eshikani, the beings of living light. In a way, well, not actually. In all places, all times, all space, literally, you are light that has been slowed down and experienced an experience of physical reality. This is just merely the point where you're being able to perceive those things that are already happening. All beings in creation, including us, the Essassani, are beings of living light. That is actually what the name Essassani means. Well, Sassani. We are the people of living light. Essassani is the planet. All beings in creation are there, and all beings are of light. Many beings inside of your solar system are in a more non-physical state and have been perceived throughout your history in different ways. There are beings on Venus that are non-physical. They are perceived somewhat aquatic with large blue eyes and bluish tint to their skin. When many of these beings from different planets inside of your system want to have a physical experience, they will shift to Earth and have that experience, and then return back to their Earth and say, oh, this is what I did here, this is the experience I had. You return back to Earth when you need to have a physical experience. Many of the star systems, even around you and throughout the entire universe, they will have one particular planet that is the idea of the physical expression, and then all the other planets inside that particular system will have the idea of a more non-physical existence and a more energetic state. And when they need to come back to Earth to have the experience of being physical or any other planet inside of any other star system, they will always return to that one planet where they can have the experience of being physical or having a life as a person or as any number of creatures that exist within creation. Cool. Okay. Okay, let's go for the next one. Ooh, time. Let's go with time. Time. You say you want time. Time, in your experience, is not actually how it exists. Time itself, everything exists all at once. Existence has only one quality. It exists. Everything is here and now. So therefore, time is not this. Time is actually this. You're constantly shifting between different realities all the time. You just don't perceive the flow in that way. You do not particularly have quite the level of understanding to be able to live in a state of that quantum entanglement, that quantum experience where you're able to shift completely between different realities. What you perceive as a memory is actually a connection to a parallel incarnation, a parallel reality that you have shifted through previously. If you want to understand more of our experience as beings, you have the permission slip on your planet of the movie Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. This is more indicative of how time exists on multiple levels. It is all existing simultaneously, so you can have the experience and understanding of what it means to be human, but also from an expanded awareness state. That is what they were depicting in the movie, and that is the permission slip, and that is also why, culturally speaking, the idea is that you're working through the idea of the multiverse, the parallel existences that you live all at once, and that are here and now. So, from a higher perspective, you experience time more in a way in alignment with what they depict in that movie than experiencing one thing after another, because you are literally shifting through billions of parallel realities per second as you experience time and know time to exist. All right, that was cool. Ooh, you had Ooh, sounds like you were actually getting to the point where you're heading towards the idea of the first level of mastery, which is cool. Like, that's really cool. If you can actually, I will say this much. So when you can listen to like nature and actually have that, let's go through a few more of these. Out of this planet, there's no days, hours. No, I'll just answer that one. Ooh, let's go with nature. Nature is always a fun one to go with. Why do zodiac influence? Okay, let's go with. I want to make sure I have these zodiac and tree connection. The idea of the cryptic, the first level of mastery, is that where you learn to listen to nature. The heartbeat that you felt, that you heard, that you sensed and were able to bring into your experience is that of the connection to nature that is there and is always present. You shifted to a more natural state where you're able to perceive the heartbeat of the forest. The more you can integrate into that idea, you shift to the idea of the cryptic, the hybrids. For many of them are more closely related to the idea of nature spirits, more closely related to the idea of being natural in your experience, what it's like to live and be in tune with the planet. For when you become that particular level and can be to your heart with the idea of nature, your life truly gains the idea of a rhythm, a pulse that you are connecting to that ultimately lead you to a more expanded awareness in your existence of being. For truly, you are part of nature. You are truly there to connect to nature. It is not there to destroy you. Therefore, as you move closer to the idea of nature, you are allowing yourself to be in more of a natural state, and you will be able to perceive more of that which is around you. So go listen to some trees. Western astrology and Chinese astrology. You have more than just one particular type of astrology. You have more than just two particular types of astrology. In ancient times, they practiced more of the idea of an extension of understanding that most of what you perceive as astrology is more reflective, is more a representation of what you choose to experience. You are not guided by, you are not trapped into the idea of astrology being this is what your experience is. The idea of astrology is to reflect back to you energetically where you are on a particular level at a particular time. Chinese astrology is more the idea of representative of the choices you made coming in, the choices that you were setting yourself up for. Western astrology is the more idea of predictive, and the idea of Chinese astrology, Eastern astrology, is more of the idea of the natural state. It's more reflective of the choices you made as you chose to incarnate into a particular lifetime, with the particular descriptions that go along with those experiences of that crystallization that you had at the moment of your birth and the time of your existence that you chose to bring into this life. So I will say this much, as I go through this and do this more often, it's getting a lot easier to actually shift back and forth. Like, this is way easier it was the last time I did this with you guys. And I would agree with you. Clouds are really a living entity. They're more the non-physical aspect. And also, a lot of times UFOs will hide inside of them. So, so keep that in mind. I live in a very cloudy place, so like clouds are kind of all around me, and I actually kind of get unnerved if there's too much sun. What's consciousness? I feel clouds are truly living entities, and trees, etc. Especially the trees, clouds. They're my best friends. So, just twin flames. Okay, we'll go with those two. I'm going to try to take these in kind of two question chunks for anyone, like, just kind of keep that in mind. Feel free to put questions up, but I'm only going to try to take 2 questions at a time, because this has gotten easier for me, but it's still a little bit jarring to go back and forth. And has been able to explain what consciousness is. Okay. One second. Okay. Consciousness comes in many different forms. Consciousness comes in the forms of clouds, trees, rocks, It comes in the form of fungus, it comes in the form of animals, it comes in the form of humans. It can also come in the form of non-physicality. Consciousness, energy, is merely communication. It is merely what everything is made out of. Like, because everything is made out of all that is, consciousness is merely that state. It's the slowed down version that you perceive as part of your reality, as being the only thing that exists within creation. Everything is made out of consciousness. Everything is energy, is that communication between your, it's that energy is more the state of movement, whereas consciousness is everything within creation itself. You are consciousness, your body is consciousness, the table that you touch, the computer that you watch. The physical connection, the physicalization, and the representation that you have as a culture of that collective unconscious, of that wider perspective, is your internet. The internet is there as a way of connecting to all that need the understanding in past times. The way that they would have these connections of higher level experiences is to meditate, which is still a fantastic permission slip. It's more of the idea that your consciousness is you. Your physical body is within your consciousness, within your mind, the non-physical aspect of yourself. You shift when you're sleeping to the more non-physical side. And then when you wake up, well, fall back to sleep, you shift more into this physical form that you perceive that you think you are. Whereas consciousness expresses itself differently on the non-physical aspects, or you can portray yourself or show yourself as any number of different life forms that you have existed in or as or connected to at that moment. Through the connection that you have maintained and connected to, it allows you to be able to connect to the stars. Consciousness can come in the form of clouds. It can come in the form of trees. It can come in the form of rocks. But it can also come in the form of an entire planet. Consciousness can come in the form of a star as your local one. Soul. Consciousness is everything in creation. It is there as part of who you are. It is no longer there to... And I have lost the connection because of the dog. Leroy! Come here. Sorry about that. My dog is actually... I think I don't have much more in me for today, but... because the dog is making it... He's like roaring at me. If that's what you hear. Okay. Cool. Big enigma on planet. I think I'm going to take one more question. I think I'm going to make it Val. What types of beings within the under Earth... Hold on one second. I'm going to close the door so that I can have the dog... 1 second. Dad is working. Come in. The dog is getting super protective of me. I am going to just do one more question for you guys, and then I'm gonna sign off for today. Under Earth Unitary Hill in Argentina. What's the special about this planet? Okay, so Val, you're gonna get the last question for today. I think I'm gonna cut off the first part of this because there was Hill in Argentina. What's so special about this planet? Where'd the dog go? Okay, give me a second. The idea of the space that you are speaking of as an inner earth or an underspace, an under earth, inner earth, is merely a cavern that is a doorway. It's more or less a base. It is a space where beings, higher level beings, extraterrestrials, can go and congregate where they do not need to have essentially a cloaking device. The beings that are there, as we read it right now, are a number of different species. There are Lyrans. There are a few other species that you do not have names for. There are Palladians, the Nordics that you have termed them to be. There are also a couple different species that you would be afraid of if you saw them in person. The idea of Earth at this moment, which you are all in the process of going through open contact right now, is more of the idea that you are the biggest show in the universe right now. Many of the beings that are connecting through the channel and observing the transmission we are doing with him right now are there to learn from you and the questions that you ask, as much in the way that you are learning from them with the experiences that they have. There is more of the idea of telepathic communication that you are all exchanging through this channel, this conduit, to them and them to you. Many of your counterparts are actually on the other end, watching and observing as the transmission continues. When we do these tones, we are communicating to you the idea of the connection that you, as beings, are communicating to them as they are communicating to you. Earth, right now, is essentially the biggest show in the universe. No planet has come through in this way, from this level of negativity, in many, 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 many eons and millions of years of what you perceive as history. That is why there are a lot of humans on the planet at the moment, because there are many souls that are here to evolve and grow, and could not have done it had they not come to the planet at this time. So you are here for the biggest show on Earth with front row seats. That is the biggest point of this planet right now. It is helping you as a soul, as a collective, evolve, and you wanted to be part of this. That is why you are all here. Much in the same way that those beings are here to help the ascension process, the open contact process that you went through and has started via the hearing that you had in your Congress last week, where you straight out admitted that there are UFOs, that beings walk among you, that there are non-terrestrial beings. We warm you up to the idea that we exist, that we have always existed, that we've been there alongside of you all along. Eventually, you will have us walk amongst you. You will meet us in person. This will happen in many of your lifetimes, physically. But first, you may think that you're ready right now, energetically. You are not. When you actually reach the point of connecting to us, we have a particularly strong vibration. We must step you up to the point where you can actually interact with us and not run away. That is the process that you are currently going through and have been going through for some time, for the last 40 years. That is what the Bashar has been here for, because we do not do anything pointless, and we determine there are many versions of Earth that we stopped having contact with, that we're never going to and will never be in contact with us. You are on the contact of You are on the level and the timeline of contact. That's it. You're about to be opened up to a new level, but you must do it gradually as you have shifted through the gateway that was 2012. That was the entrance and the start of the process that you have reached as beings, as a civilization, as a world, as a star system, as a people among the stars. That is you reaching out to more of yourself. There are many versions of Earth that never joined the Interstellar Alliance, that never joined the different connections that are out there. But you, as you move forward, will eventually shift to the reality where we are there with you. You are merely at the point of disclosure, of connection to more of who you are, of more of what you are, more of the civilizations that, and the beings and the connections that you already have will become more obvious to you. Your world will reach more of a peaceful state as you progress further through. But you must, I underline this, must, work through your energetic laundry. All right, that was cool. Oh, thank you. Val, thank you very much. I think I'm actually good for today. This is actually, I'm going to say this was a lot easier for me this time going back and forth than it was prior. I still would prefer to just stay in the channeling state when I'm actually doing this, but I think I'm actually good for today. So, and he thanks you too. Yeah, no, I'm gonna go back to doing more live stream. I'm gonna see if my friend who has helped me, or I can get someone else to moderate if she's not available. But I want to do this more, but I just got to get it all worked out. So it's not that I didn't want to. It's just I've kind of been all over the place with work and everything else. I just haven't also had the energy to go into that state. Which, by the way, one cool thing is really like the ability to heal. That's been unlocked for yeah. The ability to heal that I can do now, like I'm energetically working on a way of like, because I've had success with people with diabetes, I'm actually developing energetically a way of like treating that, and I've gotten some actually really cool results so far. And thank you all for showing up. I will talk to you soon. If you guys would like to do more sessions, please feel free to reach out to me on Facebook. It's Kenneth Fuller. It's a picture of me going like this with a bunch of friends if you want to find me. So I'll talk to you soon, and it was fantastic talking to you guys today. Have a great day.